When men are ready to problem solve in their relationship, it makes life very easy. When a woman decides to marry you, to be honest, and you start having kids, I don't care whether it's long distance, you've known this woman before, or it's a relationship that has been going for long. It takes two people to come to a certain point to say, well, I know this is not going well. We need to find solutions for it. It's always about the we. But another thing that I also want to talk about and stress about, to be honest, I put a post on Facebook this afternoon, and the post is marriage. I said marriage verse 7, marriage 7 verse 31. It says, I said no, but I did not say you shouldn't do it. And somebody came and left a comment under that post and said, I could write a whole story about this, but there will be a beginning and there will be no
Let
ending.
me get
So
your man.
it comes, yes, when it comes to problem solving, to be honest, I just want to say it's a great step to take, especially from the point of the man. But also, I'll just add my small 1 cent by saying that, you know how we say have conversations. Last time we are talking conversations about what, but as to be honest, I think one thing we really need to pay attention to are attachment styles when we want to get married. Even if we don't have conversation about how many kids we want to have, to
Yeah.
be honest, because I'm starting to notice that most of the complaints I have in relationship are when people, I give them a homework, go ask your partner what their attachment style is. Most of them come back to say it's
We don't
avoidant.
even know.
And when,
We don't even know what attachment style is.
yeah,
This, this is
and
really a
when,
new concept that's coming to the limelight. I'm sure you guys as social workers are beginning to dive more into this. And
yeah,
we said it earlier. How you grew up as a child tends to reflect on how you attach to your partners.
right,
Oh, are you avoidant or are you the anxious side? I think those are the two main categories, right? I don't know.
yes. So we have the secure and then we have the insecure. And under the insecure, we have the avoidant and the anxious. And as I'm kind of thinking like, why is it that a lot of people do reflect about some of these things only later? Because I do realize a lot of people that have avoidant attachment styles do not have conversations in their relationships. Every time anything comes up, if they are not defensive, they just run away. They ignore it and they don't talk about it. So they have the habit of, yeah,
Living. I'm
Really,
guilty.
yeah.
yeah. So they have the habit of just sweeping everything under the carpet most of the
Yeah.
times, and when it accumulates, then it kind of gets to the point where it explodes.
Yes, yes, yes.
And when it explodes at that point, everybody is already at the fence, right?
Mhm.
Thinking that we did not address this, we did not talk about this. But I still do think that in order to kind of develop those skills, try to know what your attachment style is. Try to get to the point where you know that, okay, if I've been avoidant for so long, there's a possibility that this might have been the reason why we kept pushing things under the carpet. And if I need to, okay, improve my communication skills, if I need to work on my conflict resolution skills, then it's a step to the right direction. That is what I think.
Yeah, fair point. But let's bring back to men. It is my experience that a lot of men are the avoidant type, particularly us from Cameroon. And we talked about this earlier in the show. Maybe you have not joined yet. A lot
Yeah.
of us did not grow up seeing our parents expressing emotions in front of us. A lot of us did not grow seeing our parents hugging each other. A lot of us did not grow in our parents showing love in the ways that love is being preached nowadays. I mean, granted, they had to significant roles, and now and then couple with that, nowadays people have a lot of time in their hands, and then they seem to focus a lot more on their relationships. But then we have a lot more problems. Um, I, for one, I never saw my parents kiss or hug. Well, they hug. Let me not throw them under the bus. But kissing or saying I love you and stuff like that. So that's out of my world. It's never something that I grew up seeing. So am I the avoidant type of relation? Possibly. I hate confrontation. I know I come up here and I try to debate people, but in my relationship, I do hate confrontation. To be very honest with you. And most men, I would think, share that problem. Have your wife ever come to you and say, "We need to talk ourselves"? Whether she wants to talk about something as minor, it always comes off as threatening to us because we always think that there's something that we have done wrong, and she is trying to throw us under the bus. Um, Most men are like that. In my experience, most men that we deal with are like that. Oh, we need to have a have your wife ever sent you a text? Oh, we need to have a conversation. I don't know. So how do you feel?
I don't like that. I don't like the statement.
Just say
It makes me defensive
it
automatically.
makes
Because
yeah.
like
You just
what kind of conversation?
you run through your day. Oh, what did I do wrong? When I
Yeah.
woke up, okay, did I go to bed? Oh, did I leave the toilet seat up? No. Okay, did I leave my plate on the table? Probably not. Did I leave the door open before going to work? So you run through your day and you begin to find out the problems, and then you begin to make guesses of what she might be bringing up to you. Most of us men are really uncomfortable when our wives bring these problems to us because,
Hmm.
frankly, a lot of us are very avoidant and hate confrontations with our wife. We will argue with each other, but confrontations with our wives is really difficult because I think one thing is we are really wired to not bother women and not to fight with women and to usually please women. A lot of good men are wired that way. So when we see that we have to face a problem, it's really challenging to us.
Um,
Not
Ghana.
trying to be defensive here.
Yeah, I do appreciate the fact that now you're talking about where all this comes from, right? We often talk about how we were raised, our backgrounds, and stuff like that. But I think that we are in a generation, especially if we are talking about the West where we are right now, where we have access to information and we tend to understand some of these things. Sometimes people are avoidant because of confrontation, but come to think about it, how many men know how to sit down and listen?
Not a lot.
Hmm.
Because that is the other problem when somebody is trying to like kind of express their needs or what they are feeling right now or what their concerns are. Most of the times it's just about the man not even kind of trying to understand where you're coming from, but it's just starting to be defensive about a lot of different things. And this brings me to the point where a lot of avoidant people do not have good listening skills.
Hmm.
And yes, and I think like listening also, if we want to talk about active listening, it comes with a lot of patience too. A lot of men do not have patience, to be honest. And sometimes the relationship is so good when you guys are dating, just because at that point you guys haven't been together or you don't live together for too long and stuff like that. And then suddenly we marry you guys and people just become quiet. They don't talk. But come and see them when they are in spirit
Right.
noise. And
No.
then we are starting to think like, why are you happier outside and you're happy inside?
And a lot, for
Right?
me, a lot of women cannot figure that out. Why are they
Yeah.
going out with guys and
And
they're happy, but when they're
not
home, they're
inside.
so and so?
And I finally came to this realization, to be honest. When people get together, trust me, there is this aspect where we start, especially women, we start ignoring personal preferences in our relationship. What I mean by that is, I know after kids start coming, then responsibilities increase, and then we start thinking that no, he doesn't have right to go to his soccer because there are kids, there is housework, there are chores to do, and stuff like that. To be honest, I'll say this here. I know a lot of women are not going to be happy, but I think one way we can actually start being happy in our marriages is by understanding that men love their wives, but they need to go out there and socialize and still have those times that they used to enjoy when they were growing up. And if going to their soccer meetings and having fun with friends or hanging out like boys is some of the things that they really cherish, those are some of the things we need to respect. And vice versa. And I'm kind of thinking like this. Sometimes when women marry and because they have this anxious attachment style, it goes both ways.
Yeah.
They want their man to be there
The
all the
all
time. They
the
want
time.
them to go. Yes, they want them to go out there and kind of like, if I'm going out, I only have to go with you. But I will encourage a lot of people. A man needs to go out there and spend their boys' time with the other men. Please promote that because it's part of well-being. It's really good for their own mental health. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if women also once in a month or twice in a month or once in 3 months want to hang out with their own girls and just go out and have fun, please encourage that because they might be
You
missing
do
some
a
of
lot
those
of
things
that,
after
don't you?
getting married.
You guys do
I,
a lot of that.
I definitely agree, Patience. People need their space.
Yes.
Right.
Um, when two of you are in the house the entire week, it sometimes becomes almost suffocating. You
Yes.
need an opportunity to go out there, to be somewhere without your partner
Yes.
and just be. And the
Be
thing is,
alone.
most of the time, men come back home
Much better.
even more loving,
Yeah,
even more loving.
They
They come back home and
are
it feels
there.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So a lot of you, and we're not trying. We're just trying to focus on the men this time around.
mhm,
So we understand that it's a given that men enjoy personal time, women too enjoy
mhm,
personal time. But how can we as men make that personal time worth it so that our women see that there is value in you having that personal time? So I'm talking about like maybe you can do more in the morning before you go for your soccer. Maybe
mhm,
you can help out with the kids earlier so that she doesn't have the burden of taking care of the kids all by herself all
mhm,
day. So there are little things that you can do that you can help make that Saturday morning or up to Saturday afternoon when you're hanging out with your boys and talking about nothing.
Absolutely.
I think the again, just to add, Jana, I think the problem is when you have your time and then you leave a burden behind on your wife. Again,
On
just
your
like we
wife.
said,
Yeah,
you
yeah,
leave home first thing in the morning, you're gone. The kids are
right.
still there. They haven't had breakfast. The house is still untidy. You did not help do any of that
Right.
work,
Yes.
right? Then you leave your wife home to do all that. There's no way she's ever going to
She's
be
gonna be
happy with
resentful.
that,
Yeah, she's gonna be very resentful,
right?
and she
Yeah.
doesn't
So by
why.
the time you, so if you choose to say Saturday is when you go hang out, get up early, whatever you want to do, get some of the work, some of the house chores done,
That
so that
helps a lot.
when you leave, she is not left behind with all this work to be done.
Thank
And then
you.
she too can have her own time,
Thank
because most of the work is done.
you.
Then she too can have her own little time while you are away,
Right.
right? I
That's
think
right.
that is what we should do.
Yes.
Yes, we agree that we need to have our own time
Yeah.
outside home with our friends and do our own thing. But don't go and leave your wife with all the work,
Don't make it
because
feel
you
like a
come
burden.
back home, she is going to be
Very
pissed with you for
Yeah,
leaving all
it's
this
gonna
work
be like
behind.
you come back and you say hi and she doesn't respond and you're asking yourself, what do you want
I
today?
know.
You know, we are humans, Ghana, to be honest, right? And it's a lot. And even though I want to say just for the fact that, well, we just expect you to help out. You will see that a lot of women will grow to that point. You mentioned the word resentment, but a lot of women will also grow to that space where they just become quiet and they stop asking because they've been asking for so long and nothing is changing. So, in order for two people to thrive in that relationship, they need to. I always advocate for balance. If you get up on Saturday before you go for your soccer and you know that, okay, the
Yes,
kids need to go to school, there is laundry. You can even help out with laundry.
mhm.
Tidy up a little bit, make breakfast for the kids before you leave. Guess what? Your wife will wake up, one, two, three tasks are already gone, so she can handle the rest for the day. And when you come back, she'll be smiling.
Or
So
take the
to be
kids with
honest,
you.
Because I think the problem is you can go out and get yourself in the best mood, and you come home and her mood is terrible. It
Why you come home
spoils
so
all
hey,
the work. It spoils all the work that you put in.
yeah. So at the end of the day, I think these are some of the realities that we need to embrace in our relationships. And it takes more to say. Sometimes when your wife becomes really naggy, I always tell people they are trying to tell you something
right.
and you are not listening,
Yeah.
to be honest. So when people call women, they start labeling them. She's too naggy. I don't want to be in that house. Honestly, when I return to that house, there is an underlying
Yeah.
reason.
Nothing.
When you
Yeah.
find that underlying reason, then you will understand that, okay, you can make
You,
amends. But
you
for
manage.
people that choose to ignore, yes, you will keep dealing with a bad mood every time you go and get happy,
Yeah.
and then you return back to a bad mood.
See,
And then
patience. We agree on. We
Sorry.
lost you, patience. We agree on something.
No, absolutely right. The reality is always on the ground. If you see it, say it, and people will agree because that is the reality.
Right.
When you get married, I often say I was supposed to have this conversation. My time does not permit me. Too many things to do. I honestly want to ask this question on Facebook and let's have a conversation about, did you get married to a wife or you got married to a maid?
Well,
Because, yes, because a lot
go
of times
live.
some
You
people,
go live and invite us. We'll come and share our opinions.
yes, Because at the end of the day, sometimes some people do not actually candidly sit and think about all the things you need to handle. And sometimes now they say we are too focused on our careers, that's why we are complaining. No. I've got two hands, you've got two hands. Two legs, two legs. So if we get up in the morning and we are kind to see how we can do. I always tell people, if you have two kids, if you get up in the morning and it's so much of a struggle,
Do one.
and it's going to relate to people differently, because there are people that their women do not have to go to work early. There are women that have to go and their men do not have to go to work early. So we just have to be flexible to fit in for each other. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, they are our kids. I can't get up. I'm preparing two kids to go to school. I'm preparing lunch. I'm preparing breakfast, and I'm doing everything. I need to start work at 7 o'clock, and you are sleeping when you have to start work at 8 o'clock. It doesn't work. I will
Yeah.
obviously start the day in a very bad mood. But if you woke up and I was preparing one child and you were preparing the other, at least I'll be preparing lunch and all the else with a smile on
Right.
my face. It works.
Mm. And I think one thing we're touching on there is your ability to be able to be influenced, because we are no longer living in the 1900s or 1960s or 1980s when
Yeah.
modern day. So our ability as men to be able to change and adapt to the
Yep.
dynamics of our time is very important.
And
Gone are
and
the
the
days
thing,
when- yeah,
I think nowadays the thing is men worry about making certain changes in their lives because they feel like it makes them less of a man.
amazing left of my breath.
That too is a problem where you feel like, oh, if I show too much emotions, or if I'm too show too much affection, or if I am doing all this and doing all that and helping him, it
Right.
makes me less of a man.
I know.
People should
Yeah.
take that out of their head. It doesn't make you any
It
less
doesn't
of a
make you
man.
less of
It
man.
just
Yeah,
means you're
so I
But
owe you one letter for that talk. Hallelujah.
no, no, but one thing I know we'll talk about men here. You don't want to swing the pendulum the other way so far in a way that now you're the stay-home dad and your wife is going to
no,
be
no, no.
the
That's not the point I'm making. The point
yeah,
I'm saying is
the
being
good
able
balance, right?
to do a good balance where you are able to do all these other things, right,
Yeah,
and not
and
feel like
still be
you're
the
any
man in the
less.
relationship.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Because you
And
start
let me
taking
add a
drive and
little
now you come home and for us. You start
let
now you
me
become
let me add a little bit to what Asong is saying.
wow.
You mentioned the word influence, right? And some mentioned a very good point about the fact that when you become flexible, people start saying, is this, is that. We really need to eradicate this kind of thinking, because come to think about it, the reality is on the ground. You're working 8 hours and I'm working 8 hours, isn't it? When we come back home, in order for dinner to be ready, you must help me to kind of say, okay, put the kids' uniforms together, think about if they have homework, think about some of those things. But when you completely just shifted to the woman, Ghana,
Yeah.
what do you expect at the end of the day? And that is why for so many years, let's talk about it in reality. When a kid always turned out bad, they say, "Na mami pikin." The good ones were always the kids of the father,
Well,
right?
there's some validity
But
to that point.
yes, why is that? Because we had upheld this status quo for too long to think that, okay, if something did not go well, it's because the woman did not manage well. And it goes back to my post today. I said no, but I didn't ask you to do it. You can't give with the right hand, turn back and take it with the left hand. No. Sometimes when we ask simple questions, honestly, I just want you to be open and just answer the question the way I ask you. I'm not saying you don't have to think about it. Think about it, even if you have to give me the answers in 2 days, right? I will not mind. I will wait. I will be patient. You get the point. So this thing that we are preaching today, oh, there are weak men, there are feminine men, there are some women. I said it in your last show. Some women are starting to take leadership because the man is folding their arms and sitting down.
That's true.
And if they want the family to move forward and things to happen for them the way they want it to be, they need to take that responsibility to move forward. Ghana had expressed that it hurt man's ego. Like the ego of the man is seriously hurt. But which do you prefer, your family or your ego at the end of the day? Right?
Yeah.
You need to make that difficult choice. What are you prioritizing? I always tell people, like, you're not asking yourself those questions at this point. Is it what people are saying out there, or is it what is happening in your home?
Yeah.
Where do you sleep? Do you sleep out there? Someone was saying, I lie, my woman no fit make that rubbish on my front. But
Go back home and yeah.
I be don't talk. Oh, I say when I see people standing there like, oh, my relationship is perfect. I get breakfast in bed every Sunday. Now until you hear the voice, you can say, wait, happen for breakfast in bed.
Yep.
Relationships
Yeah.
are not
So
that.
the reality is not always very obvious. I know sometimes we have the instinct where we want to protect our partners out there, but at the same time, you cannot keep doing that to the expense of your family. You need to
Yeah.
make that difficult choice to say, if I need to take my kids swimming on Saturday because my wife is busy, I will do that. If I
Yeah.
need miss 1 hour of where I need to go do the enjoyment, yes, I'll still catch up when I get there, you know. So it's just about how you want to prioritize the stuff in your life. And I think that every single person should prioritize their family. When you get married and you start having kids, you should prioritize your family. That's just my simple take.